Hello and welcome to the video on Unit 2. In Unit 2 you will be reading Chapter 2 of our textbook. You should pay close attention to the section on premises and conclusions, the standard form. The Smart Study section gives us some good reasons why we should reconstruct arguments. Putting arguments in standard form is a way of reconstructing them. You should also do the non-graded learning activity. Remember that the non-graded learning activities are very important. Reading the unit lesson will be a great way to get a clear and concise summary of the concepts covered in Unit 2. In Unit 2, you should focus on writing arguments in standard form. You can begin this by first identifying the conclusion. You can then move on to the premises. Remember that the premises are the reasons for the conclusion. Next, you can identify anything that is irrelevant to the support of the conclusion. This is called extraneous material. Think of the extraneous material as weed in your garden, something that must be discarded. In Unit 2, you should also focus on identifying assumptions. Unlike premises, assumptions are not explicitly stated in the argument, but they are logically relevant to the conclusion. Let us look at an example. This example will teach you how to put an argument in standard form and identify an assumption. Consider the following argument. Thomas is very well liked. We can't, however, completely trust him. Yesterday I found out that he lies a lot. Let us begin by looking for the conclusion. Let us start with the first assertion. Thomas is very well liked. The question we should ask is if there is any other assertion that supports the first one. The answer seems to be no. He cannot be well liked because he lies a lot, and he cannot be well liked because we cannot completely trust him. Thus our conclusion must be either that we cannot completely trust him or that he lies a lot. Note that yesterday I found out that he lies a lot can only be a reason and thus a premise for the fact or the conclusion that we can't completely trust Thomas. Thus our premise is that he lies a lot, and our conclusion is that we can't completely trust him. The highlighted portion shows us what our argument looks like in standard form. Let us now look for the extraneous material. In this example, the extraneous material is easy to find because it is all that is left, and that is the assertion that Thomas is very well liked. We could have found the extraneous material first when we identified the conclusion. This is because the conclusion is that we cannot completely trust Thomas, and the fact that he is very well liked is completely irrelevant to this conclusion. Lastly, let us look for something that is assumed in the argument which is relevant to the conclusion. The assumption is something that is taken to be true but not stated in the way that the premise is stated. Another way to understand the assumption is as something that is taken for granted in the argument. We now know that the premise is that Thomas lies a lot, and the conclusion is that we cannot completely trust him. In order to reach that conclusion, the person who made the argument must have assumed or taken for granted that anyone who lies a lot cannot be trusted. Thus, our assumption can be expressed as anyone who lies a lot cannot completely be trusted. This should give us a very good idea of how to put an argument in standard form and how to find an assumption. Remember to do the non-graded learning activity so that you can practice some more. Practice will make perfect and will also prepare you for the Unit 2 assignment.